Caserio got himself ready for next week's free agency period before going into the weekend by creating a ton of salary cap space to play with.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around. Fun show lined up today. I want to talk about why I am tired of waiting, right? We got some good things happening for Houston over the last couple of days. Salary cap created. I'm tired of waiting. What will the Houston Texans do? The suspense is killing me, but we get everything kicked off Monday and then officially Wednesday. So let's also talk about what's to come. What should we expect from Nick Caserio and his team for the following weeks? It won't all just be next week. The major deals, the big money deals, those will get done next week, right? But free agency period is a period that in many ways can last after the draft, once teams get a feel for how the draft went and the available guys that are still out there in that pool. So let's talk about what should we expect, what's to come. But also, it was a wizard work in the last couple of days. Nick Caserio did an amazing job extending the salary cap for Houston. So that's exactly where I want to start today's show. Shout out to my everydayers from the Himalayas for making the Locked On Texans podcast your first listen of the day. And for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. And I am your Texas Credential Media member and football analyst, John Hickman. Houston is currently top 10 in effective salary cap space, going from roughly negative $10 million to now a little over $30 million. Houston got to this point because of the Derek Stingley and Jalen Pitre restructures, the Danielle Hunter extension, and Montgomery and Titus Howard trades. Shout out to Nick Caserio, man. In many ways, listen, I think Houston has a bunch of team players to help make this happen. I'm indifferent on the Hunter extension because on one hand, Hunter doesn't look like he's slowing down, and in many ways, he looked like he got better last season. So rewarding one of the driving forces of the defense is awesome, no doubt about that. But the 2027 cap hit is extremely high. And I wonder, does this take away from potential players that Houston could use on a long-term deal, considering 2027 will be the first year for either Will Anderson or C.J. Stroud? Major extension contract payout, unless Houston looks to pick up the fifth-year options on both of those players. I think that they will pick it up on one, and that one player is C.J. Stroud. So hopefully I'm not off on that, but bringing Hunter back I think is still major, right? He has been perfect opposite of Will Anderson Jr. And another thing is, I've said it before, I'll say it again. As long as Kamari Lassiter is on that rookie deal, Houston has a championship window that they want to maximize and operate in. Because I think once a team offers to throw something out there for Kamari, I don't think he's going to come back to Houston. So right now they want to make sure that their best guys are still in-house. So, but for right now, the Hunter move keeps Houston defense where it already is. And also Dalton Schultz getting an extension is fire. He balled out last year and covered up many of the problems within that tight end room, being that solid driving singular force that the offense needed throughout the year. In many ways, I think Houston is prepared to hit on the guys they like in free agency, but I don't think that's a lot of players for Houston. I don't think Houston has a lot of these guys that may be viewed highly within the organization enough to pay major money to. I think it's just a couple of those players, and Houston is prepared to have the space needed to get them to Houston. After Friday, it feels like the best word to describe Houston right now is prepared. Prepared. And that's really all you can ask for. It feels like this was phase one of the plan. All right, guys, let's address the needs. Let's assess the needs. In order to do that, we have to get out of the red. Now Houston is operating in the green to the point where, thanks to Nick Caserio, they were at the bottom in terms of spending cash to start the cycle because they were in the negative along with other teams. But now they're looking at being in the top 10. And so for Houston, all you can expect moving forward is, all right, now we have the money, and they've already talked to some of these players' agents, and there's already an understanding, right? We know how these things work in preparing for Monday, which is the legal tampering period, where deals can maybe get announced, but players essentially still would have 2 days to back out of a deal. But for Houston, what more can you ask for? They feel prepared. It feels like the Texans are prepared. It feels like Caserio, DeMeco, and everybody in their front office knew exactly what they needed to do to get to a place where they have the flexibility to get the players in the building that are from the out, because Houston gonna take care of their guys that are free agents first. They're gonna take care of some of the in-house players that played last season first. So be prepared for that. But it feels like their plan is set. And now we get ready to go into Monday where things can really get out of control. We're going to get some chaos next week. I really believe it's going to be a chaotic week next week to kick off free agency. But Houston had the money that they need. Side note, Houston brings back Trent Brown on a deal worth up to $7 million. Good insurance that won't take away from Houston, either upgrading the right tackle spot in the draft or the financials won't hurt them. It won't hurt Houston if they decide that Blake Fisher has reached another level in his game and everything has finally come together for him to be the starting right tackle. So I'm interested in that as well to see what Blake Fisher can do this year. And also, I think Houston may view this tackle class like many teams this year. They may view the tackle class in the light where it's some game changers. And also, again, we talk about the tackle class for the NFL this year. The guard for free agency, the guard market for the Houston Texans feels like in many ways they may get priced out. So what's next? What should we expect from the Houston Texans? Should we expect for them to maybe go all in on center and upgrade the guards in the draft? Maybe they go all in on center, have some money left over for maybe a tight end to come help this room out. Who knows? But I think we need to be prepared for just solid signings next week. We'll get that one. But after that, be prepared for a team that's putting together maybe the mid to back end of their draft. But so, please forgive me, I'm still under the weather. I lost my voice. But with that being said, it's important to look at what's to come for the Houston Texans. We live in a world where we can stream anything, order food in minutes, and carry supercomputers in our pockets. And yet somehow buying tickets to a live game still feels complicated. Hidden fees, jumping prices, endless steps. There has to be a better way. That's why I use the GameTime app. It gives fans the advantage and makes getting tickets simple. Whether it's NFL games, concerts, comedy, or whatever you're into, I jumped on the app to check out tickets for the upcoming Rockets game, and honestly, it took me minutes. You can see panoramic views from your seat every time you buy a ticket. The price you see includes all fees, so no surprises at checkout. 2 taps, and you have a great seats locked in. Fast, easy, done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON 20 for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Download Game Time right now. Welcome back, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. The Texans are expected to part ways with Christian Kirk, along with Nick Chubb, DeMeco Autry, Foley Fatukasi, Christian Harris, and Braxton Berrios. Christian Harris, of all of these guys, feels like, man, what happened? What really happened? He was really expected to be a guy in that linebacker room, made the play against the Browns. The following year, misses all or most of the season, comes back. Henry T just played himself into the role, and Christian Harris was out of the role. The following year, EJ Speed gets signed, and it seems like he was never able to get back on the field, was essentially put on special teams to make plays, but You want to see Christian Harris be able to make some plays for another team moving forward because the tools were there. He just never was able to put it together. Houston wants Sheldon Rankins back. He's also interested in coming back. Tim Settle Jr. is expected to test the market. Ed Ingram and the guard market overall will be expensive. Could price the Houston Texans out of bringing him back. This is per Aaron Wilson. So again, I think between Monday and Wednesday, we'll see Houston allow some of the bigger moves to be made so Nick, DeMeco, and the front office staff can see how the market dictates itself a little bit more before striking. Houston will get some of their guys who are already free agents back into the fold. I think we'll see some one-year deals signed first for the Houston Texans. And I think the first initial contract extension we see now really created the opportunity for them to take care of their players who are already Texans first, while ultimately getting out of the red. So the wave of the Pitre, the Danielle Hunter, the Derek Stingley, when they got those contracts restructured or extended, that was for them to get in a place where they have breathing room to take care of their guys that they really want back, and also have the money to, once they make another contract extension, which I'm looking at maybe in the Z's or something like that, they'll have the money to fill out what they want to do in free agency. I would expect 2 to 3 solid signings from outside of the building, with maybe one of those being a highly regarded player at their position. I'm pointing towards the center position. I think that's where Houston is going to upgrade. Caserio has signed more free agents than any other GM in the last 3 years. So expect to see plenty of those one-year prove-it deals that he is notorious for. Now, last season, Houston's offensive line struggled significantly, ranking 30th out of 32 teams in ESPN's pass block win rate metric. They finished dead last in run block win rate. Currently, they are missing the top 2 offensive linemen from 2025, Titus Howard, and their second best, and Ingram, who is set to become a free agent. With the funds created, I think Houston looks to address the vet they believe can glue between the tackles that can help get their deficiencies to a place on the offensive line where they're playing at a higher rate. I also expect for some motion between the Z's within the next week, which would help create some cap space for this cycle. I would not be shocked if we got the move for Z's by Tuesday once the legal tampering period starts and the numbers start to get thrown around. I think an Z's extension would give Houston just enough to accomplish their free agency goals from a financial standpoint. But we also just better hope and pray that the players Houston wants comes to Houston. And here's the thing, for those tier 2 offensive linemen that may not be making the top bucks, right, that market money, the Texas state taxes might sweeten the deal for them to come to Houston. But I think Houston is about to really get active in the draft. I really do. I think this is where we'll see Houston fill the necessary voids to complete the roster. A lot of my expectations for free agency and next week are simply centered around solid signings, nothing spectacular. And honestly, when you sign a center or a guard, there's not much spectacularness to come with it. But I don't see Houston going too crazy. I don't. I think they have a list of guys that they believe, like when we look at Houston's tight end spot, obviously Stover hasn't given Houston anything. The injuries to Brevin Jordan is piled up to a place where you need more than that insurance, or you need more of an understanding that Brevin Jordan cannot be counted on. And that's just fair to say, no disrespect to him. So you look at a tight end like a Charlie Kohler, who has experience being a tight end 3. He may want a bigger role, and he's proven his ability to be able to run block and being solid in pass catching situations. So for the Houston Texans, he'll fit what the system is asking of him from a tight end perspective. And they can still go out there and say, hey, let's go draft a tight end. That tight end may not be drafted high. I think it should be Kenyon Sadiq. That tight end may be a player where between rounds 3 and 4, you're looking at their upside a little bit. Who knows? And I've said it before. I think Houston needs to stop being cheap when it comes to tight end through the draft. It's always a late round investment. Maybe change that a little bit, and maybe you'll get more of an output from those tight ends. But I think overall for Houston, they're at a spot where they clearly still feel like they win with their defense. Trading for David Montgomery was step one to helping the offense out in a sense of we want to be able to run the ball to limit mistakes. Upgrading at center, which I think is next for Houston, will allow for the Houston Texans to be able to afford to maybe put in two young drafted guards in between Ariante Ursary on one side, Trent Brown or Blake Fisher on the other side, because the center position will be able to help those guys out immensely. So I'm just really wondering, like, what's next for Houston? What's next for Houston? I'm tired of waiting. I know you guys are tired of waiting as well. Next week is going to kick it all off. Next week is going to be a period where it's going to get fun. We're going to have our feelings broken. We're going to be heartbroken for a lot of reasons, right? Our teams don't get the players that we want. We're going to feel like the team didn't do what we thought they should. But ultimately, they are in charge. And for the Texans, it will feel like all you have to do is take care of the offensive line. You don't got to get overly expensive, right? I'm justified in this thinking of signing a Tyler Linderbaum would take away from, because I still think Houston needs to go veterans at our offensive line, could take away from what that money could do for another position like guard or tight end. So you don't want to see Houston put all their eggs in one basket and not be able to fill out the offensive roster. Defense is taken care of already. You don't really got to worry about that. So it's exciting to talk about. It's interesting, but I also look at the Houston Texans and I see themselves in a position where even with the moves that were made, if they don't hit on upgrading the offensive line, and I mean really upgrading, it's going to be for nothing. It's really going to be for nothing. So you better hope and pray that some of these good offensive linemen want to come to Houston. Now, why not? Right? The coach is here. The city is here. The running backs are here. The quarterback is here. For many of you don't believe the quarterback is here, but the fact remains is offensive linemen like to block for decent to good quarterbacks, and that's what Houston has right now in C.J. Stroud. And if you put all of that together, and from top to bottom, from front to back, the offense is, structured perfectly, then you get a better C.J. Stroud. Absolutely. But let's talk about, to close out today's show, just being tired of waiting. And it's time for taxes. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old ways of doing taxes is just a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient thing to do in the world, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really got your situation under control. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade with Intuitive TurboTax, who now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as your day goes by. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Welcome back, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Really quick, it feels like this cycle, this free agent cycle has a lot of releases this year. Like, players are getting released left and right. The D tackle from the Minnesota Vikings, Jonathan Allen, got released. And I'll tell you this, I know that the Texans are looking at maybe parting ways with a Tunsil or a Sheldon Rankins. If they don't get those guys to come back, then you're looking at an opportunity to where Jonathan Allen could say, hey, you know what? I need to come back. I need to come to a place where I know I can be successful. And not to say come back to the Houston Texans. He's never played in Houston. But come back to a place where they allow defensive linemen to really get after the quarterback and do their things. A lot of defensive linemen feel like the numbers and success you want under Brian Flores, you won't get. But here in Houston, under Rod Wright, Matt Burke, DeMeco Ryans, they want their D linemen to feast and play good football and get after the quarterback and stop the run. And so Jonathan Allen could be looking to get back to a place where it feels familiar. And also, 1 year prove it deal. Allen, you had a down year. You got released. Come prove it here in Houston, which is what the Texans are, especially under Nick Caserio, notorious for. Coaching changes. We need to talk about that really quick. Bill Lazor no longer a part of the offensive side of the coaching staff. Taquan Underwood was added as an assistant wide receiver coach. Shout out to Taquan, man. Jerry Shaplinski, officially quarterback coach. James Ferentz, tight ends coach. Rod Wright got the run game coordinator added to his title. To the offensive coaching changes, I like it. And shout out to my boy Baird who pointed this out on, I think it was a Spaces I was listening to maybe Wednesday or Thursday. But he pointed this out and it was a really good point. Wasn't too many offensive changes made last season when Kelly got here. Kelly wasn't able to kind of bring in some of his own people. And even with Nicole Popovich, who's already here in Houston, yes, they have a relationship with working with the New England Patriots. Their time, kind of lapsed with each other a little bit. But he was already here in Houston. So, it wasn't like major changes to where this is my guy. These are the guys that I like. So this year, you're looking at Taquan Underwood getting added, who played with the Patriots, so understand from a player perspective what the system is asking for receivers, especially young receivers. So we look at the addition of Taquan maybe helping out Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins get to the next level, and maybe if Houston looks to invest in another young receiver in this year's draft. But I think that's great from an understanding perspective. Now as a coach, play for that system, play for that team, knowing what that looks like. And for James Ferentz, tight ends coach, we know that Kaylee has tight end coaching ability in his background, but just being that extension of Kaylee and what the offense is asking for. So now with some of the additions, this could be quote unquote his coaching staff, the staff he wants, and one band, one sound, to where, hey man, the voice is clear throughout the room. The ask is clear from everybody throughout the room. We now know what we need to do. And the offensive operation should work smoothly moving forward. But to the point of being tired of waiting, I'm kind of over talking about who the Texans should and shouldn't target in free agency. By this time next week, any of our opinions will either be validated or will be pissed off at the Houston Texans. No matter what, though, I think one thing we should all be able to agree on is they are operating in do-or-die mode, the Houston Texans are. And for Nick Caserio, it's important for them to figure it out. It really is. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. I promise to be not under the weather the next time I talk to you guys. But follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12 and on Instagram at SomeSportsGuy. Like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube page as well. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texas fans across the nation, peace.